Do not swipe past this. The algorithm didn't accidentally drop this message onto your screen. It was pulled here by a quiet prayer you whispered to yourself 3 weeks ago. Out of all the mindless noise you will scroll through tonight, this is the exact transmission you have been waiting for. You know the exact frustration I am talking about. The heavy, hollow ache that sits in your chest when you watch someone else follow a simple, 10-step blueprint to massive success, while you struggle just to keep your head above water. You have read the same books. You have mirrored their morning routines. You have executed their proven formulas with 10 times the discipline and 100 times the effort. Yet, for them, the process produces a miracle. For you, it produces a brick wall. You sit there, exhausted in the quiet hours of the night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, why does the math work for everyone else, but completely break down the second it touches my life? You have secretly wondered if you are cursed, or worse, if you are simply fundamentally broken. You are not. Tonight, the universe's long silence finally ends. If you give me your undivided attention for the next few minutes, I am going to make you 3 concrete promises. First, you will finally understand exactly why every system you tried was biologically and spiritually designed to fail you. Second, you will see the true, staggering weight of your actual assignment. And third, you will be handed the physical key to unlock the barrier that has held you back for decades. If you feel that strange pull in your chest telling you this is for you, mark your place in history. Type, "I am ready to listen," in the comments right now, and let's begin. Let us start with a profound, uncomfortable truth about how the world is actually designed. The systems, the structures, and the expectations you have been desperately trying to force yourself into were never built for you. They were engineered for the 99%. We call them the maintainers. Maintainers are wonderful, essential people who inherit the existing machinery of society and keep it running smoothly. They are designed by nature to fit perfectly into pre-cut molds. They thrive on standard operating procedures, predictable career paths, and conventional wisdom. When a maintainer is handed a step-by-step template, their biology and their spirit seamlessly align with it, and they prosper. The world applauds them because the world understands them. But you do not belong to that category. You are part of the vanishingly rare 1%. You are what heaven and history call a catalyst. A catalyst is not born to maintain the old systems. They are born to completely dismantle them and construct entirely new paradigms. You cannot fit into the existing machinery because your sheer existence is meant to disrupt it, challenge it, and ultimately replace it. This fundamental divergence in design explains every single agonizing failure in your past. When you bought that expensive course, or followed that famous guru's advice, or tried to shrink your personality to survive in that rigid corporate culture, you were attempting the impossible. You were trying to run maintainer software on Catalyst hardware. It was never a lack of discipline. It was never a lack of willpower, intelligence, or faith. Think of it in these physical terms. Imagine handing a master engineer the flawless, proven, heavily tested blueprints for a world-class wooden sailboat. But the materials the engineer actually possesses are aerospace-grade titanium, rocket boosters, and zero-gravity navigation systems. If they try to build the boat, the result will be a chaotic, sinking disaster. The blueprint is not defective, and the materials are certainly not flawed. The profound tragedy is that you are using the schematic of a tiny boat to try and assemble an interplanetary spaceship. For decades, you have been trying to build a normal, quiet, conventional life using the raw, volatile, unprecedented materials of a catalyst. No wonder it felt like constant, agonizing friction. No wonder the formula shattered the moment it touched your hands. It was supposed to shatter. It is time to finally drop the massive, suffocating weight of self-blame you have been carrying on your shoulders. You have spent your entire adult life silently apologizing for being too complex, for being too restless, for failing to bloom in soil that was fundamentally toxic to your specific nature. Stop apologizing tonight. Your inability to conform is not a symptom of your inadequacy. It is the ultimate, undeniable proof of your calling. You are not a glitch in the matrix. You are not a defective cog in the machine. You are an entirely new operating system, a massive, unprecedented update that the old, outdated hardware of this world simply cannot read yet. Once you accept this, the arithmetic of your entire past rewrites itself. Your perceived flaws immediately become your greatest features. Your isolation becomes your sacred preparation. If you feel the heavy armor of guilt finally cracking and falling off your chest, if you recognize your true name in these words, claim it out loud right now. Type, "I am the catalyst" in the comments below, and let the old, defective identity die tonight. To prove to you that this is not just motivational poetry, but a literal diagnosis of your existence, we need to look at the undeniable evidence of your life. A catalyst has a very specific, recognizable signature. You have been living it your entire life, but you have been reading the symptoms without the proper medical decoder. I am going to read you 5 specific signs. As I go through them, pay close attention to what happens in your body. If you feel a sudden tightness in your chest, or a strange sense of relief, as if someone has been secretly reading your private diary, it is because you are finally being seen. If at least 3 of these describe your reality, you are definitively a catalyst. Sign 1. The profound solitude in a crowded room. You possess a terrifying level of empathy. You can walk into a room, scan the environment, and instantly read the emotional temperature of every single person there. You are a master of translating yourself to fit the needs of others, offering profound wisdom and acting as the anchor for your friends and family. But the agonizing, silent flip side is that absolutely no one can read you. You sit at crowded dinner tables, surrounded by people who claim to love you, yet you feel a staggering, suffocating sense of isolation. When you attempt to explain the complex, swirling architecture of your own thoughts, you are met with blank stares or polite nods. You have realized a heartbreaking truth. You can easily visit their depths, but they do not have the diving gear required to survive in yours. Sign 2. The cycle of involuntary destruction. Look back at the history of your life. Every time you have managed to build a scenario that looks perfect by society's standards, a stable, predictable job, a comfortable routine, a safe relationship, an invisible force sweeps in and violently disrupts it. Whenever things get too normal, everything suddenly collapses, forcing you to start completely over from scratch. You and the judgmental onlookers in your life have labeled this as self-sabotage, instability, or a string of incredibly bad luck. It is none of those. It is your catalyst protocol actively rebelling. Your core design refuses to let you die quietly in a comfortable, mediocre cage. The wreckage of your past is not a graveyard of failures. It is the necessary demolition site for an empire. Sign 3. Outgrowing guides at an unnatural speed. You have a deep hunger for growth. Over the years, you have actively sought out mentors, teachers, and spiritual guides, desperate for a map. In the beginning, their advice is helpful. But terrifyingly soon, usually within a matter of months, you reach the absolute edge of their map. They simply run out of things to teach you. You look out at the massive, uncharted horizon you are heading toward, and your guides awkwardly admit that they have never sailed those waters. You leave a long trail of well-meaning mentors behind you, collecting their limitations like small abandonments. This is not arrogance on your part. A guide who has only learned how to climb a local hill simply cannot teach a mountaineer how to summit Everest. Sign 4. A frightening, unexplainable intuition. You do not just guess things, you know them, and you know them instantly. You can look at a new acquaintance, a business opportunity, or an unfolding situation and see its exact conclusion in the first 5 seconds. You effortlessly sense hidden motives, unspoken truths, and impending disasters without a single shred of logical proof to back it up. When you try to warn others, they gaslight you. They call you cynical, paranoid, negative, or claim you are overthinking. But wait 6 months or a year, and your intuition is always flawlessly, devastatingly vindicated. This is not a magic trick. It is your catalyst hardware processing thousands of subtle data points at a frequency that normal maintainer minds are literally deaf to. It is a heavy, isolating gift. Sign 5. The phantom time pressure. You carry a constant, low-level anxiety that you are running out of time, even if you are only in your 20s or 30s. There is a relentless ticking clock echoing in your chest that nobody else can hear. You look around and see people, your exact age, perfectly content to drift through their weekends and coast through their careers, while you feel a desperate, burning urgency. You feel as though you are late, not late for society's artificial milestones like buying a house or getting a promotion, but late for a monumental appointment with destiny. The pull will not die. You have tried to numb it, bury it, and distract yourself from it, but the pressure only grows heavier. Take a deep breath, look at those 5 signs. If they are the story of your life, you can finally stop wondering what is wrong with you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are exactly what you were engineered to be. Let us talk about the exact, terrifying cost of being a catalyst who does not know they are one. From a very early age, you realized that your natural frequency made the people around you deeply uncomfortable. When you spoke your actual mind, the adults exchanged worried glances. When you shared your massive, non-linear, sprawling visions, well-meaning teachers handed you a red pen and told you to be realistic. Parents, out of genuine love and a desire to protect you, gently nudged you away from the edge of the cliff and steered you toward the safe, heavily trafficked middle of the road. Because you possess an innate, terrifyingly sharp understanding of human behavior, you did what any highly intelligent organism does when it realizes it is a target. You adapted. You studied the maintainers around you. You watched closely to see which behaviors got rewarded with affection and which ones were punished with isolation. And slowly, systematically, scene by scene, you built a costume. You learned to dilute your vocabulary so you would not sound too intense. You learned to mute your burning passions. You learned to shrink your aura, physically and energetically, so the people in the room would not feel threatened by the sheer gravity of your presence. You became an absolute master of psychological camouflage. But here is the brutal, unspoken truth of the human nervous system that no one ever warned you about. Impersonation is never free. It requires a staggering, continuous burn of cognitive and spiritual bandwidth. Every single hour you spend wearing that costume, acting normal, nodding along in mundane conversations, suppressing your piercing intuition, and flattening your personality into a digestible template, you are draining the exact same energy reserves required for massive creation. This is the hidden, invisible architecture of your exhaustion. This is why you can come home at the end of the day having done objectively very little, yet feel completely, paralyzingly drained. You stare at the wall, too tired to even think, and you silently accuse yourself of being lazy. Stop calling it laziness. You were not doing nothing. You were actively, desperately manufacturing the performance of being someone else. You were running a heavy, unoptimized simulation, of a maintainer. And it is the single most exhausting psychological labor a human being can undertake. This brings us to the exact mechanical reason why your life has felt stalled for so long. You have been looking at the ceiling, crying out in the dark, asking the universe to finally send you the breakthrough. You have been begging for the provision, the right partner, the massive platform, or the true calling to arrive. But there is a strict, undeniable law of energetic physics at play here. A genuine miracle cannot, and will not, land on a landing pad built for a counterfeit. Think of your mind and spirit as a master control room. Right now, 90% of your system's processing power is actively being hogged by a faulty, outdated software program called template living. It is constantly running in the background, consuming your vital energy to keep the camouflage intact, to manage the anxiety of not fitting in, and to force your catalyst hardware to constantly compute maintainer math. The channel is completely jammed with the static of other people's expectations. The universe is entirely ready to hand you the unprecedented assignment. The provision is literally stacked up, waiting for you. But an unprecedented assignment cannot be downloaded into a system that is currently choking on fake software. If you were handed the massive influence, the true wealth, or the global stage right now, while you are still wearing the costume, it would destroy you. The sheer pressure of maintaining a fake identity at that scale would snap your nervous system in half. Therefore, the delay in your life is not a punishment. It never was. The delay has been a fierce, loving, protective mechanism. Heaven has been deliberately holding the blueprint back, waiting for you to uninstall the template living software. It has been waiting for the channel to clear. It has been waiting for the original, raw, untamed, unedited version of you to finally step out of the shadows, drop the heavy armor, and say, "I am done performing." The breakthrough you are waiting for is not lost. It is simply hovering right above your head, waiting for the authentic frequency to finally come online so it can lock onto the correct coordinates. The moment you drop the template, the coordinates align. Let us go deeper now, past your psychology, past your childhood, and down into the very marrow of your bones. Down into the bloodline. You have spent your entire life operating under a massive illusion. You have believed that this intense, agonizing struggle to break free, this constant friction between you and the world, is yours alone. You look at your empty bank account, your shattered relationships, or your deeply ingrained, paralyzing anxieties, and you assume they started the day you were born. But they did not. The heavy, invisible chain you have been violently pulling against for decades was forged long before you took your first breath. Look closely at the history of your family line, without the polite, filtered stories told at holiday gatherings. When you look at the raw truth, you will see a specific pattern repeating, like a dark, skipping record. You will see a lineage of pure survival. You will see chronic poverty that was passed down like an heirloom. You will see silent traumas, quiet resignations, and brilliant burning minds that were tragically forced to settle for a meager paycheck instead of a towering purpose. You see generations of men and women who had to swallow their massive dreams whole, choking them down just to keep a roof over their children's heads. They lived their entire lives in the crushing grip of fight or flight. They survived simply so you could exist. But alongside that generational trauma, running parallel to it in the absolute dark, was a generational prayer. Somewhere deep in your lineage, there was a grandmother, a great-grandfather, a matriarch with worn hands and a broken heart, who stood in the quiet hours of the night and looked up at a silent sky. They prayed a desperate, wordless prayer for a deliverance they knew they would never live to see. They prayed for a future descendant, a child of their blood who would finally possess the environment, the strength, and the sheer audacity to shatter the cycle. They prayed for a chain breaker. Here is a strict, undeniable spiritual law of physics that the modern world has entirely forgotten. Prayers do not simply evaporate. Desperation does not just vanish into the ether when a person's life ends. Longing is a literal, energetic currency. And for generations, your ancestors have been making deposits into a massive metaphysical bank account. Every tear of frustration your grandmother cried, every ounce of untapped potential your father was forced to bury, every silent scream of a mother who wanted freedom for her children, none of that energy died. It went downstream. It flowed directly down the river of your genetics, accumulating power, density, and terrifying momentum. It has been compounding for 100 years. We call this the compound interest of generational longing. And now, all of that accumulated, explosive pressure has slammed directly into one single person. You. You are the convergence point. When you feel that staggering, unexplainable weight sitting heavy on your chest, when you feel that ferocious, completely irrational drive to build something massive, to be completely free, to refuse the mundane life, you are not just feeling your own ambition. You are feeling the compound hunger of 4 generations howling in your blood. You are feeling the physical weight of the baton they just placed in your hand. You are the specific, ordained point in history where the generational trauma finally collides with the generational cure. You are the instrument engineered to absorb the shockwave and completely rewrite the ending. This brings us to the most agonizing silent wound that catalysts carry, survivor's guilt. As you begin to awaken to this truth, a dark, insidious guilt creeps into your mind. You look at your parents, your siblings, the people who raised you in the struggle, and you feel ashamed for wanting to leave the struggle behind. You feel that outgrowing them, out-earning them, and outliving their limitations is somehow an act of betrayal. You shrink your dreams, lower your voice, and sabotage your own success just so you won't make them uncomfortable at the dinner table. Listen to me very carefully and let these words shatter that lie forever. Your altitude is not an insult to their struggle. It is the ultimate vindication of it. The generation that finally crosses the finish line is not betraying the runners who handed them the baton. They are the harvest of every single seed those ancestors planted in tears. If your ancestors could part the veil of eternity and speak to you right now, they would not be angry that you are leaving their poverty and their pain behind. They would scream from the heavens, "Go, run. We suffered the winter so you could command the spring. We survived so you could build." Your success is the only thing that makes their centuries of suffering mean something. You are not abandoning them. You are liberating them backwards through time. If you finally feel the staggering weight of your true position in your family tree, if you are ready to stop apologizing for your destiny, accept the baton right now. Leave a permanent mark in the record. Type, "I am the convergence point" in the comments below. Let the ancestors hear you claim your rightful place. You now know your true name. You understand the heavy, compounding weight of your bloodline, and you finally have the exact reason why the old, conventional maps burned in your hands. But here is the brutal reality that the self-help industry will never admit to you. Knowing is simply not enough. Insight is just content, and your problem has never been a lack of content. Your problem is the physical container trying to hold that content. You can download the most advanced, brilliant software in the world, the profound awareness that you are a catalyst. But if your hardware is fried, the system will still crash. For decades, the trauma of your bloodline and the exhausting daily performance of template living have physically altered your brain. Your nervous system has been chronically locked in a state of fight or flight. When your brain is drowning in cortisol and high beta survival waves, the creative, visionary centers of your mind are literally starved of energy. You cannot think your way out of a physiological response. You cannot journal your way out of biological static. Until you physically retune the instrument, the masterpiece will always sound muffled. This is where we must leave the realm of inspiration and step directly into hard, clinical neuroscience. Over the past decade, researchers studying flow states, trauma release, and peak human performance have isolated the exact frequency where a catalyst's mind is naturally designed to operate. It is not found in the manic, caffeinated hustle of the modern world. It is found in the deep, synchronized bridging of the brain's two hemispheres, specifically dropping the mind into targeted theta wave states. When your left hemisphere, logic, structure, survival, and your right hemisphere, intuition, boundless creation, vision, synchronize perfectly, the static of the template completely dissolves. This is the pivot point of your life. To pull you out of survival mode and push you into your original, designed frequency, you do not need another rigid 10-step routine, you need a physical intervention. This is exactly why the Neural Catalyst protocol was engineered. Let me be perfectly clear, this is not standard meditation. It is not generic ambient music, and it is certainly not a track of positive affirmations. It is clinical-grade neural synchronization technology. By using precisely engineered audio frequencies, this protocol acts as a tuning fork for a dysregulated nervous system. In just minutes a day, it physically bypasses your conscious resistance and gently forces your brain waves out of the chaotic beta state, guiding your hemispheres back into absolute harmony. It literally uninstalls the template living software at the neurological level. The results of this specific tuning are staggering, because when a catalyst is finally operating on their true, original frequency, reality immediately begins to rearrange itself to accommodate them. Take Elena, a woman who carried a heavy, three-generation pattern of financial collapse and toxic relationships in her family. She knew she was meant for more, but her nervous system was biologically wired for chaos. Within 21 days of using the protocol to synchronize her brain waves, the invisible wall broke, the chronic anxiety evaporated, the self-sabotage stopped, and she seamlessly launched an unprecedented creative project that completely rewrote her family's financial destiny. Or consider David, who spent 20 years playing the perfect maintainer in the corporate world, battling paralyzing burnout. After a few weeks of the protocol, the heavy fog lifted. The terrifying intuition he used to suppress became his compass. He stopped performing, walked away from his golden handcuffs, and built a massive, thriving enterprise on his own uncompromised terms. They didn't suddenly get smarter. They didn't learn a secret marketing trick. They simply retuned the instrument. And now, it is your turn. Accessing clinical-grade neurofeedback therapy to achieve this specific level of hemispheric synchronization would normally require visiting a specialized facility. A single session of that caliber easily costs upwards of $400, and a full peak performance brain mapping program runs into the thousands. But this is not about gatekeeping your biological cure behind an impossible paywall. When you access the Neural Catalyst protocol today, you are not just receiving the core neural synchronization audio technology. To ensure you have every conceivable tool required to survive the transition from your old hardware to the new, I am including 3 critical accelerators, completely free of charge. First, you will receive the Template Removal Guide, a $67 value. This is a tactical manual designed to help you consciously identify and rapidly dismantle the psychological masks and people-pleasing habits you still unconsciously wear in your daily life. Second, the 30-day Catalyst Roadmap, a $97 value, giving you the exact day-by-day integration process so you know exactly what to expect as your nervous system rewires itself. And third, the high-frequency biological protocol, a $36 value, a specific dietary and environmental guide revealing the exact foods and habits that physically fuel a highly sensitive, recovering nervous system. That is a total real-world value of well over $600. But this message was not sent to you to create another financial burden. It was sent to permanently break a generational chain. Because you are still here, listening to these words right now, you have unequivocally proven that you are the one your bloodline has been waiting for. For you, today, the entire Neural Catalyst protocol and all 3 bonuses are available for a single, one-time investment of just $47. Why $47? It requires just enough skin in the game to ensure you actually commit to the process, but it is accessible enough that the generational ghost of financial struggle cannot stop you from crossing the threshold tonight. And because I know intimately how many times you have been burned by false promises and empty templates in the past, I am taking absolutely all the risk off your shoulders and placing it entirely on mine. You have a full 60 days to test this protocol completely risk-free. Put on your headphones, listen to the frequencies, walk the roadmap. If you do not feel the heavy, paralyzing fog literally lift off your mind, if you do not experience an undeniable physical shift in your nervous system and a surge of profound clarity, simply send our team one short email and you will receive a 100% refund immediately. No hoops to jump through, no questions asked. You have absolutely nothing to lose but the invisible chains that have held you down for decades. I want you to project yourself exactly 6 months into the future. Imagine waking up on an ordinary Tuesday morning, before the alarm even sounds, and immediately noticing the absolute silence in your mind. The chronic, heavy static of anxiety is completely gone. In its place is a terrifyingly clear, crystalline focus. The massive ideas that used to slip through your fingers now arrive fully formed, carrying the weight of absolute genius. You walk into rooms, and the doors that you used to batter against with bloody knuckles simply swing open at your touch. The universe is no longer resisting you, because your frequency no longer begs for permission. It commands alignment. But the most profound, heartbreaking beauty of this morning is looking at your children, or the young ones in your life, and realizing that the generational curse has finally starved to death. They will inherit the empire you built, not the trauma you survived. The blueprint is ready, the original hardware is waiting. Right now, wherever you are sitting, I want you to close your eyes and take one massive, lung-expanding breath. Hold it at the absolute top. Gather up every single ounce of the imposter syndrome, the exhaustion, the guilt, and the apologies you have made for your own brilliance. Now, exhale completely and aggressively. Blow the template out of your nervous system forever. You are officially commissioned. The unprecedented update of your bloodline is fully downloaded and ready to boot. It is time to press start. The link to claim the Neural Catalyst protocol is waiting for you in the description below. Finally, if you know another catalyst who is still desperately drowning in their camouflage, send them this message tonight. The era of the copies is officially over. The era of the catalyst begins now.